Good evening to all. It is the 3rd of August, and the time over here where I am at, it is 11:37. I'm Oscar Blue for the Oscar Blue Media and also for Real America's Boys News. We are in our hotel room in Amsterdam today. We arrived around 2 o'clock in the evening. We have a lot of hours of difference. We haven't rested, but today we are hoping to catch some sleep. We have a 10-hour difference into what is the West, what we are, usually accustomed. That is the Tijuana, that is the West Coast time. One of the priorities that we came over here is to continue with the great work that the great Michael Young has done, and it's an investigation into what the food crisis and this globalist agenda, how it is attacking countries, in particular how the manifesto of the progressive environmentalists, how it's taken away the freedom of the people of the Netherlands, and how they are being continuously brainwashed into accepting this. A lot of the people over here, they do not like this globalist agenda, they do not agree with it, but as soon as you ask them about it, they are so afraid to go against it, that there are so many sanctions right now, that there are so many punishment in terms that if you don't go with the narrative, that you will be punished or you will be sanctioned within a specific amount. One of the things that the great Michael Young has done, and the great Chuck Holton, which I am with over here in Amsterdam, has been the investigation on the farmers. On the farmers in the Netherlands, just to everybody to know, and this was a shocker for me. One of the countries that has more fertile land in the world, one of the top three countries, it is the Netherlands. It has a really fertile soil, which you can farm whatever whatever you want to. The Netherlands exports a lot of the goods into the world, as cheese, as milk, as as all products that you can even imagine. But due to the environmental progressive agenda, they're trying to stop them. They have stopped a lot of the farms from farming, because these progressive environmentalists, they say that farming, it is going to contaminate the world. They are really progressively moving into the emissions sector, which is one of the things that China, it is implementing, that it is pushing strongly forward. As you guys know, Xi Jinping already put in a manifesto that he wants to end emissions by 60% in 2030, lowering down hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and by the ending of 2060, emissions will be over, and electrical cars will be taking over the industry in China. Basically, that manifesto, whatever is being implemented in Davos, all these globalists, it is being, the exam, or for you to understand how you can implement this in another country. They're using the Netherlands. And sadly, the farmers are the ones that they are being affected priority. We talked to one of the farmers that he has owned this farm in decades with his family, great grandfathers, and so on and so on. And a lot of these farms that they are located right here in the countryside of the Netherlands, they are owned by decades, and some of them, for hundreds of years, uh, from their families. And now the government, because they want to stop them from farming, they want to take away that possibility to keep farming, to keep feeding people. But not only that, that they are taking away now their land. This, it is going to cause a humongous food crisis, and they do not want to continue with the farming of the products, these globalists. But ultimately, the most aggravated thing about it is that they're taking away their land to potentially, one of the theories is to create housing for the mass migration that is coming into the Netherlands. The percentage of procreation over here in the Netherlands is really low. So one of the one of the things that they want to do is to bring more mass migration so they can procreate it, they can grow the Netherlands, which ultimately, one of the theories is to take away this land and create housing for migrants. This is an interview that we had with one of the farmers as we arrived to the farm. And it's a beautiful countryside, beautiful, beautiful countryside. He let us in into his house to do an interview, and not only we have interviewed him, but also the great Jordan Peterson sat down at the same table that we were sitting down and interviewed this man about what is going on, the aggravated situation of this globalist agenda, how it's all tied together: mass migration, open border policies, this global compact of migration, global compact of the environment, global compact of the education, all of it, how everything is tied together. And it is sadly trickling into the West, into the continent of America. This is our interview with the farmer and the parts outside in the countryside, outside of Amsterdam, here in the Netherlands. We are here in close to Amsterdam. What is the town right here? Can you
Zeewolde.
introduce yourself, and can you tell me where are we located right now?
My name is Jeroen Vermaan. I'm a dairy farmer located in Zeewolde. It's a town close to Almere, a little bit further, 30 minutes away from Amsterdam.
How many decades of your family has been here owning this farm, and how many decades you've been?
On this farm we are farming for 40 years already. My father was a dairy farmer too, and before that there's also 5-6 generations of dairy farmers.
So in the past have been a lot of protests. The farmers of Dutchland have been protesting because of this new environmental agenda that is going on right now. How is that affecting right now your farming and moving forward with this?
The farmer protest first it came up because there wasn't a lot of appreciation from normal citizens, people. And after that, Dutch government came up with the nitrogen rules. And the protests after that were against the government, in this case of the nitrogen rules. But in a longer period, farmers feel that they're getting blamed for about every environmental issue which is there in the country. And the protests are an answer to that. We aren't the problem. We are probably a little bit of the problem, but we're also a big part of the solution. So that's why farmers fight back with protests.
You explained a little while ago that they're trying to put a massive amount of people in a part that is so important like this, that is a really important part for the world, that you have a really fertile soil right here to farm for the world, and they try to put a massive amount of people in this kind of situation. Can you explain that for a little bit?
Yes, well, actually, it's not being pointed out big. When you go to the internet, you can find all about the tri-state city and stuff like that. But when you just look at the rules and vision the government has, it's the only way it's pointing is getting farmers out of business, getting farmland into their hands to buy houses on. That's what I say out loudly. We need to build more houses. There's a lot of migrants coming to Holland also. We need to buy 1 million of more houses. So that's what's being done. Getting farmers out of farming and using the land to create either nature or land for building houses.
So you think that mass migration has to do a lot with that theory?
Yeah, well, actually, when you look at Holland, the numbers of children, a normal Dutch couple gets average 1.7 child. So when you look at that, then there would be enough houses for housing Dutch people. But every year over the last, I would say, decade or even longer, average there would be 100,000 migrants coming in every year.
So there's a purpose behind, letting all these people come in a massive way into your country.
Yes, and the only question is, what's the goal and what's the middle? I don't know, do we get the migrants in to buy houses, or do we buy houses because the migrants are coming? I don't know the answer to that question, but you can see it's happening.
What is your message to the people that you want to say about what is happening towards you right now in terms of this crisis that is going on right here with you guys?
Well, actually, I think, and that's what a lot of people say, Holland is a kind of example for the rest of the world, and actually in food production we are really important. We're a small country, but we are the second largest exporter of food products in the world. And when you look at just a realistic look, you know, when the total amount of area on the planet is the size of one piece of paper, the amount of land we can use for food production is the size of a business card. And then 1/3 of that is usable for arable production, like plants, like potatoes, grain. And 2/3 is only usable for grassland, so dairy production, feeding to cows. So we should really take care of the amount of land available for farming and for food production.
As you can see out the window here, there are lots and lots of windmills. The country is sort of a poster child for the Green New Deal. And I say that because they have gone 100% all in on zero emissions, saving the world through, cutting their emissions and carbon neutral and all that kind of thing that you hear a lot about. Everything they've done here, I mean, as we're driving down this road, I can barely fit the car on the road because there are bike lanes on both sides of this road way out in the middle of nowhere, out in the country. They have gone all in on saving the environment. Now, if you can see outside here, it's a kind of a rainy day, but it is a beautiful country. It's very green, very lush. Most of the country actually looks like what you're seeing here. It's rural, it's farmland, and the thing about the farmers here in the Netherlands is that they are literally the best farmers in the world. They are some of the most efficient farmers on the planet. When you measure, actually by any measure, but when you measure the amount of food that they grow based on the amount of land that they're farming, they are the most efficient in the world. And they export a tremendous amount of beef, butter, cheese, and vegetables and things like that all around the world. And their stuff is world famous for its quality and being clean and everything like that. So it might strike you as funny that the government of the Netherlands is doing what they can to try and reduce the number of farmers here. And not just by a little bit, by a lot. They're trying to reduce the number of farmers probably by half, more or less. And that means shutting down about 3,000 farms in Holland. Why? Well, because they've committed as a government. They have a very left-leaning, liberal, World Economic Forum following government here, and they have gone lock, stock, and barrel into this net zero emissions ideology. And I call it an ideology because it really is. It's a religion. Amsterdam, which we flew into earlier this morning, is kind of like the San Francisco of Europe. They are, as much as they are all in on the climate agenda, they are just as fervently all in on the LGBTQIA plus minus ampersand plus sign I don't know.
Everything.
I'm sure I got that wrong, and that makes me a racist. Or
Yeah, I know.
They are so. I mean, every day is Pride Month in Amsterdam, and it just made me realize something. Like when you see how the left is pushing so hard, I'm like, why? Why do they make such a big deal? Why do they make such a big deal out of who you choose to sleep with? Why do they push it so hard? I mean, it used to be, look, live and let live, be tolerant and let people do what they want to do in the privacy of their own bedrooms. Okay, fine. Nobody had a problem with that. But then it became, you have to celebrate this. And now I see, as I'm watching this transgender, absolute hysteria as a social contagion, not just in the United States, but even more so over here. I'm like, they don't just want you to accept it, they want you to become it. Like, they would prefer that more people be transgender, that more people be gay.
The whole purpose of it, and you were explaining a little bit a while ago, is just to stop, procreating.
Right. Well,
basically,
that's what it made me realize.
That's the whole thing.
Everything that they're pushing points to death. It's all about death. There's nothing that relates to human flourishing. It all goes toward death. Let me explain what I mean by that. Everything that they do points to death. And what I mean is abortion, death. Euthanasia, death. LGBTQIA plus minus ampersand, divided sign. That is non-life. That is not procreating, not having babies.
And also, lastly, it's all tied to the migration issue that you had so many years in studying this also.
Right.
But it's ultimately happening over here, and as we just interviewed this farmer that is saying that he feels that possibly the farms are going to be replaced in some way with housing for migrants and all this kind of stuff, and it's all tied up. It's all the same thing.
It is, and it made me wonder, because everybody always asks you this, and I'm sure you've gotten this question a lot. Why does the government in the United States gladly allow 200,000 people a month to just hop across the fence and enter our country illegally, and do what they can not to stop it, but to facilitate it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are they intentionally trying to destroy our country? And I don't think people do anything for no reason, and I think that they don't think, they wouldn't do anything that they thought was going to destroy the country they live in. But I think that their ultimate long-term goal comes down to, with allowing this migration, again, comes down to death. Because they say it. If you look at the speeches that Bill Gates and people like that give, they're constantly talking about that the world is overpopulated, that we need to, in order for the globe to be sustainable, we've got to get down to, I saw one speech where he said the globe cannot sustain long-term more than 500 million people. That would mean that we would have to get rid of 7.5 billion people on this planet. That doesn't make any sense. But in order to do that, you're going to have to attack it from all angles. You're going to have to abort as many babies as possible. You're going to have to use birth control to stop as many babies from being conceived as possible.
You need a pandemic.
You need a pandemic. You need vaccinations. And, suicides rates have gone through the roof. And we know that suicide rates are much higher among gay and lesbian and transgender people. So we need as many of those people as possible. We need to reduce the world's population, is what they're saying.
we are going to continue our journey in Europe, documenting, what is happening over here in the old continent of Europe. And ultimately, we are going to head north and also to the west of the continent. We are going to go to France to document more about this mass migration and what is happening in the country of France, who has been, filling up with riots and lootings in the past weeks, and ultimately also the fluency, the irregular fluency of migrants with this open border policies, and as we documented on this day, this horrible thing that is going on with the farmers over here in the parts of the Netherlands. Follow us on our social media, on every social media and our platforms as Oscar L. Blue. Follow us in Locals. Become a subscriber at Locals to continue to watch these videos, as we are going to continue to work with all your support and all your contributions. Thank you so much. This has been our report of today on the 3rd of August at 11:44 p.m. for every single one of you. Take care, and remember, God's plan is our mission.